Yes, picking winners. We're going to pick some winners here on the show. This will not be our last show. It's week 18, but definitely not the last show of the season. Simon got us on the air, and hopefully we'll stay there. Why did I say that? I don't even know. Mangone and Kegger are here today. Mangone first back in town. Hello, Mangone. You're in a darker room. Now, we see your background. Are you still in the room with the multicolored paint and we just can't see it, or are you broadcasting from somewhere else?
I mean, it's the same room. I don't know if the paint's there, Holden. You'll have to maybe come over and find out. I mean, you can't tell the people. Maybe if they're premium, maybe the premium guys can get a peek behind the paywall. Okay. But you're not getting a peek behind the paywall, Holden.
Okay. Speaking of premium, the Kegger has got some stuff going on right now on the bet side that I'm very excited about. I'm going to be hanging out with Kegger Saturday night for the Cowboys and Eagles game, but the live betting show has been very, very profitable. And for those of you that don't live bet but like to make money, I highly recommend you check this show out. Not just when I'm on it, of course. You'll be doing the Denver, Kansas City game too. Kegger, these live shows used to just be part of the package, but they are so good that something else is going on here. So talk about your live show, I guess, quote unquote, new live show, right? Brand new, reborn.
Yeah, I guess reborn. Happy New Year's to everybody. Hope
you too.
Had a happy New Year. So Saturday, the live betting show is going to go behind the paywall. It's going to be its own package. And it'll still be about 25 hours a week. Like normal, we're about 31 days out from NASCAR, which is a huge cash cow for us. We'll be live for March Madness games, everything, UFC. So you guys can check it out. It's right on the pricing page all the way to the right. I encourage everybody to check it out. And obviously check out the Run Pure Bets package. Use promo code BETS25 off. It'll get you 25% off the first week or month for the bet side.
All right, very good, boys. Let's get into this slate. But before we do, I have one more thing to say. Whole bunch of people winning a lot of money here. Members never win, right? When members are winning big prizes nightly. And we also have a co-host here, Kegger, that won as well. $25,000 for one Mr. Mangone in the National Basketball Association. So
when? Last night?
I think it was last week, wasn't it, Mangone?
Nah, it was last Tuesday. It was I did the bets show with Spread, and I don't know if Tyler was on it. It was in Florida. It was good times. Had a nice little hit for 25K. And this past weekend was good in the NFL. I had all the Jamar Chase. So I said it on the show. I was like, I think this Bengals Chiefs game is good, but I want to know if people would go back to the well. And people didn't go back, right? I mean, Jamar Chase was only 4%. So that was nice. So it's been a nice little stretch here to end the year and start the year out. So hopefully we can keep that momentum going here, all of January into February and continue on.
Good for you.
What did you do after you won? What's your celebration like? Go out and just hit the town and you say, watch out, women, I'm going to just bring you all home, or what? What happens to Mangone?
Holden, I've said this, if I ever win the Millie, like Big T, right? Like, he went out and had a crazy time. It's probably going to be a boring night, Holden. I'm probably just going to grab a drink or something, and maybe grab a snack, maybe a nice candy, and just play some video games, I guess, and chill. I mean,
what if I brought two women over to celebrate and she was a 6? Would you take care of business if I did that for you?
I mean, it depends. Like, is this 6 clingy? Do I have to deal with her?
No, one night thing, in and out.
I don't know. I mean, we'd have to see. I mean, the 6, do I get along with her? Like, I mean, is it going to be a miserable 3 hours? Maybe I could find an 8, Holden. Maybe I can find someone else to give me 5
minutes. You can pull a Big T in and out in 5 minutes and you're done.
That is the Big T, he says. He says you don't need, that's the married life. I could pull off the married life if I'd like to.
How about you, Keg? I still owe you a package, but if I showed up at your house with 2 6s, would you kick me out of the house or would you tear it up?
Like 2 6. Wait, yeah. First of all, you do still owe me.
I know I do, and I'm sorry. It's been we had the surgery, everything.
I gave you the pass. I gave you the pass for the surgery. But all right, so 2 6s of what? Beer?
No, women that are both 6s.
If 2 6s came over, what do you ask me? Would I turn them out?
Right.
Yes. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure.
I'm not above a 6.
No, you would have one and I would have the other. And I don't want to overpromise. Like I'm going to bring 8.5s over to your house. And if it's an 8.5 and you're surprised, if it's a 6, then you'll take it.
Hey, I'm a nice guy. I like the idea of if I just won $1 million and Holden's coming over with 2 6s, I might just be like, Holden, I've had a great night. You can have both 6s, and I just made his day. Is that correct?
Well, I wouldn't bother coming over to your house then. I feel like women should be a part of the celebration package.
Can I just say we are off the rails in week 8?
Well, let me say this, buddy. What the fuck is happening this week? You tell me. Like me and Mangone are talking. I don't know who's playing. We'll have a fun time with this.
Yeah.
Well, no, we'll do some strategy breakdown, but I will say we've been off the rails before in January, and it was Holden claiming The Mandalorian was the greatest show of all time.
It is
worse. It's been way worse.
Still is.
By the way, I should have told Simon to pull the tape. I said before the season started, Simon, pull the tape. CeeDee Lamb over 1,050 receiving yards this year. It's money in the bank. That cashed in week 17. You guys made fun of me because I gave out a preseason future, and but I should have told Simon to pull the tape because
I'm pretty sure I bet that with you, and I bet we bet that game as well. We bet the game that it was in and it hit, so we gave out both. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I will say this season. Is there any chance the Lions can beat my Falcons, Keg?
Oh, fuck me with that Lions call. What a terrible call. That's just a terrible call. I owe you dinner the first time you're back in Jersey. I mean, they're not going to do it.
Well, we'll definitely make it happen for sure.
Listen, guys, after the show, I have to tape a show with Titletown. It's his 21st birthday. And he legit looks like an island boy. Like, I don't know what he's doing. Title, if you're watching this right now, what are you doing, man? I'm looking forward to asking you this, but there's no woman that is going to come within 1,000,000 feet of this guy. So unless he already has a girlfriend, he's just screwed.
Can't we just how dare you leave Title alone?
I can't this time. I usually defend him. I am the ultimate Title defender. This thing is unacceptable. If you saw this hair, you'd just be like, what's going on here, bro? Why are we doing this? Why don't you take your hat off, Keck?
No chance.
So the games we're going to try to discuss today, Chiefs Broncos, the Saturday game. Then it's Packers Lions, Dolphins Pats, Niners Rams, Bears Vikings, and Seahawks and Cardinals. So let's start with a Sunday game here. Already placed a bet on it, Keg. I've got the under 16.5 for the Denver team total. They missed this number 4 of 5. They're missing 2 offensive linemen. Javonte is banged up. They can't run. Drew Lock is their quarterback. What do you want to say about this game here? Because I never feel comfortable laying 10.5 on the road in a divisional game. I'm probably not going to, but if you ask me if they're going to cover it, I'd say they're probably going to beat the shit out of the Broncos this week. Total here is 44.5 as well. Minus 10.5, 44.5. What do you got?
Yeah, I tend to agree with everything that you're saying. And to be fair, it's really hard to make money in week 18 because certain teams are motivated. Certain teams just want the year to end. So just in general, it's been relatively hard for me on week 17s. This would have been in years prior to consistently make money, but we're here. So yeah, the Chiefs still want that 1 seed and the first round bye. So I thought that they would struggle to maintain that Bengals offense last week when Mangone and I were talking about the game, and we thought that 5.5 was probably too many points. Luckily for the Chiefs, even though they lost last week and were a total no-show in the second half, they still have a shot with a win and a Tennessee loss to get the number 1 seed. So I expect them to come out and play well on Saturday versus the Broncos. The Broncos finally failed me and you on an under last week. It just barely got over by about 1.5, but it wasn't because of the Broncos offense, because this offense is embarrassing every week now. They just aren't good, and when the defense gets torched, they're dead in the water. So as far as the spread, I lean towards the Chiefs here because despite the poor defensive performance last week, the Chiefs' defense has played well down the stretch. And I think that they'll wake up after that performance last week. If that's the case, regardless of who the quarterback is, I don't see how the Broncos are going to score enough points in this game to keep up. So last night you were able to get Kansas City -9.5, -$1.20. And I don't mind that at all if it's still available.
It's not.
Around. What is it right now?
It's 10.5 just about everywhere.
Okay. Well, then you're going to have to, because even if the line is 10, you'll probably only have to pay 6 to 8 cents for the hook at 10, but at 10.5, it tends to get a little expensive. I'll still lean the Chiefs spread wise. As far as the total, it's a pass, because if the Chiefs put up a crooked number, this total has the ability to go over. But I can't bet an over in a Broncos game this year. So lean the Chiefs, and the side and the total is a pass.
Okay. Mangone, we look at this game, Broncos offense. I don't even know if there's anyone you could play, to be honest with you. Maybe a wide receiver if you want to pick one out. Are the Chiefs the Chiefs are facing a tough Denver defense. They're getting everybody back off COVID, except for one of their offensive linemen. Like, that would be the only thing keeping me back. They scored 22 against the Broncos the first time, but if you're playing that Saturday slate, you're going to have some Chiefs action, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't completely ignore the Broncos too, because there's only 2 games on Saturday. So it is a little difficult. And especially when you look at some of these receivers, like some of these receivers for the Eagles, like, yeah, they got Devonta Smith, but then from there, it really drops off. Dallas obviously going to be missing Michael Gallup for the season, which is unfortunate. So they are going to have, CeeDee Lamb, Cooper, 1 and 2 for sure. And they were kind of 1 and 2, but I feel like you could argue that Gallup was more of like, he could cut into the production of Lamb and Cooper more than like a Wilson or a Noah Brown, or even like a Malik Turner. And I wouldn't be shocked if a Malik Turner got a little bit more looks, because they need, like, if you're playing this 2-game slate, right? We need to get different on these 2-game slates. There's a lot of ways that you can get different. One way that I've noticed on the 2-gamers to get different is, let's say you build out a stack, and the stack is Pat Mahomes and has Tyreek Hill in it, and you fill out the entire salary. One thing you could do is just, let's say you think this game's an absolute blowout, and you know what? Tyreek Hill gets you 7 fantasy points. But you know what? You think Byron Pringle outscores him. Just simply change Tyreek Hill to Byron Pringle and don't change the rest of your team. And what that'll do is $8,000 for Tyreek Hill, Byron Pringle's 3.9K. You will leave 4.1K on the table and have a team that is very unique. It just simply will be. So those are routes that I've noticed on these 2-game slates that have been really interesting. Like, another example that you could do with it, build out let's say you're playing Dallas. And I know we're talking about the Chiefs game, but the 2-game slate, you kind of got to talk about them all. Let's say that you think that Ezekiel Elliott, you don't want to play him. You think Tony Pollard's the guy. Well, drop from Ezekiel Elliott to Tony Pollard. It's a $700 drop, and just leave the team the rest the same. Those are ways that I think you can make some really smart teams on these 2-game slates that can just ship. And yes, it sounds ridiculous when you kind of say it out loud, but I think it works, and I think it's something that you should look at. Obviously, injury news is going to be super important on this slate. If Clyde Edwards-Helaire sits, Darrell Williams is a guy that I'm going to definitely be getting a lot of exposure to. Another way to be unique, what if you played a Darrell Williams and you decide to play a Derek Gore together? Well, if you're not playing Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, you know what you could do? You could play the 2 running backs instead. So definitely a lot of different routes you can go. The one last thing I'll mention, when you look at this entire slate, the most expensive guy at the flex position is Tyreek Hill at 8K, and then Travis Kelce at 7K. Their raw points could be valuable on this slate. So that is also going to increase the ownership, because there aren't a lot of high-priced guys to go up to. So you are going to see heavy amount of ownership on Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So that's something else to call out as well. We're going to need tons of news on what's going to happen. Of course, a Broncos stack will be absolutely unowned, but you can't ignore some of these guys. Like Cortland Sutton at 4.6K, definitely a good option that you can go to. Hinton, another guy that you can go to, because they're just so thin and they're going to be losing all game. But I do think that the Chiefs, I'm kind of with Keg. I like the Chiefs to win. I wouldn't really bet on this total. And at the end of the day, you need to look for ways to be unique and also still make teams that are not like completely stupid. Like I think some completely stupid routes is being like, let me play Blake Bell at tight end or like, Noah Gray. Like I think that's the wrong way to go about it. But yeah.
Keg, this might be a fun game to bet live too, because the Broncos might be without their kicker and their punter. And it could be a situation where the Broncos are literally going for it on every fourth down, no matter where they are on the field. And if that's the case, we might be able to get an advantage betting the Kansas City team total over if we start seeing that as a trend. And it's not and Kansas City hasn't piled on the points early. So keep that in mind too when you're betting this game, and we got to wait for news because McManus and Martin are both on the COVID list. But if they're missing their kicker and their punter, I mean, what are we doing here, man? That's huge.
Yeah,
so
quick, one last thing I want to mention, Holden, from the DFS side. One thing that I have noticed too, that's like gotten simple ways to get really contrarian, and you could have done it last night and it would have worked. If you faded LeBron James in NBA, which it feels painful to do the night before, if you faded James Harden and then you just played chalk around it, you had great teams. You faded the highest owned guy on the slate and they busted. And is there a chance that Tyreek Hill is the highest owned guy on this slate? Yes, there's a chance he's the highest owned guy. Is there a chance that he can bust? Yes, he's one of the most like wide range of outcomes, like wide receivers in the league. So a fade of just Tyreek Hill and then playing really good plays around it might be the move. It doesn't have to be the Pringle route that I suggested. That's not the only way that you can go about it. It's just an example of getting unique with a smart built team. But I really do think that a Tyreek Hill fade on this slate could be the key, because I think he might be like 60 to 75, even 80% owned on this 2-gamer.
Yep. And he's had plenty of busts. He's the ultimate, boomer bust player. I feel like, you see him get 3 points, you see him get 33 points on any week. Okay. Let's move on to our second game now. And that's going to be the Packers and the Lions. So, Keg, it's tough to bet this. I personally think we're going to see Rodgers for a half. Everybody else has laughed at me when I said that. I don't think that the Packers are going to want Aaron Rodgers and their offense sitting for 3 full weeks. Because if you go back to last week, they'd be sitting this week. They'll be sitting next week with the bye. And then they'll be sitting all that week leading up to the next game. But that's just me. I think Rodgers is going to get some run in this game. Packers -3.5, -4 at the Lions. 44.5 is the total. How do you bet this right now? Do you even bother?
I wrote a paragraph about this in the Discord for subscribers last night in the NFL room. I had no intentions of betting this game, but Aaron Rodgers swayed me. Over the last 3 days, I've seen 3 separate video interviews where I watched him say, I'm telling you right now, I'm playing on Sunday. Devontae's playing on Sunday, and the boys are playing on Sunday. He said, yes, we clinch. Yes, we will rest guys that need the week to rest, but I'm playing on Sunday. I don't know how long, but I'm playing. So I'm going to choose to believe Aaron Rodgers here. And if they were playing against any other team other than the Lions, I probably wouldn't bet this. But even if this was all total BS and the backups are capable of winning the game against the Lions, and even if Rodgers and the boys play for a half, the look-ahead line when last week, this line was 11.5, when they thought that the Green Bay Packers were going to have to play into week 18 to clinch the 1 seed. So if I feel good about him playing for a half, last night the line was 2.5 on the road. That's a joke, that line, if he plays for a half. So it's a no-brainer to me. If I have to buy off and eat the 10 cents, maybe I'll do that if he doesn't play. Or I might just let it ride, because it wouldn't shock me to see the Packers backups beat this Lions.
Are you full game? Because I bet Packers -2.5 first half. That's my bet from this game.
I bet it full game.
Okay.
I don't hate the first half either. I might bet it in the first half.
Well, the reason why I did that is because I think he's playing a half. Now I could be wrong.
That's exactly what I think. I think he's playing a half too.
I think he's playing a half, and I took the first half.
He said, we believe in momentum and we can't sit 3 weeks going into the playoffs.
Yeah, he said that.
Yeah. Yeah. So this line, I'm telling you, is off if he plays a half.
Yep.
So that's that. As far as the total, if Rodgers doesn't play at all, I like the under 45.
Okay.
But if he plays a half, it could go over. So it's a wait and see for me. But I'm taking the shot on even at 3 right now in some spots. Packers all day if he plays a half.
Mangone, I'm not going to say, hey, just attack it from this way, but I think we need to figure out what we're doing with the Packers running game here, if they're in there. And is Amon-Ra St. Brown just a lock at this point on the Lions side?
Yeah, so it's nice that this game is in a dome. I do think St. Brown is interesting. Let's see the price tag. I'm seeing FanDuel 7.5K. That is a pricey tag on St. Brown, but it is a tough week. You're going to see some tough guys to roster, a lot of low totals, so maybe it's not super crazy. And then 6.8 on DK. I mean, you can get away with it in tournaments. The problem I have with it is I don't know what I would run back with it. That would be a bit of a concern, but maybe just play it naked. I don't think you need to play a Packer stack. They're not going to play as much. And one reason I think they are going to play, this goes way back. Do you remember the year the Packers won the Super Bowl? They won against the Steelers in, 2009, 2010? Yeah. The year after, they were the best team in the league. It was obvious. They were the best team, And then what happened? They sacked guys week 17. Then they had that bye week, and they came in, they played the Giants, and that Giants team, it wasn't that good. And they really laid an egg in that first half, and it was ugly. And I think it's because they sat as long as they did. That was when Matt Flynn came in, and then Matt Flynn was great and then earned a massive contract again for no reason because he's Matt Flynn and made a ton of money doing nothing as a backup. But they've been through this. At least Rodgers has, right? And Rodgers runs that ship. It's his. So he's going to make sure they get out there. If you are banged up, he's going to make sure you sit and get the rest that you need. But I think he wants to go out there and still keep that momentum going, like you guys said. And if you look it up, you can see he says it everywhere. Oh, we're going to play. So I agree. I don't think he plays the full game, but he probably plays the first half, and he might play the second half for a snap, not a snap, but a possession. If they look really bad in the first half, let's say they kind of struggle, he might be let's go out there for another, possession or two, just to make sure we look right and get right. So that would not shock me completely if that happened. And yeah, I think that's how it's going to go. And then one last thing I'll mention where maybe you can get an edge on this. You can play second half showdown, and people will just throw Aaron Rodgers in there in the second half showdown. And I mean, people are just bad at DFS. They'll make those mistakes. So
have you played it in Colorado?
I don't think you can play in Colorado.
That's what I'm saying. I
used to play in New Jersey. So
okay.
But if you're watching, maybe you're able to play. You can join whatever the GBP is for it. It's probably not massive, but I'm sure someone will roster Aaron Rodgers and make a massive mistake. And it won't just be Rodgers. Those people will put in Devontae Adams. They'll just put in guys that they shouldn't. And you don't have to do that. How about you just play play Jared Goff in the captain spot on that second half showdown, because he'll be down probably and throwing all game. So there's little edges you can grind out if you really want to. They're not the sexiest things, no one's getting super excited and posting a screenshot of a double up. But if you're able to play it and you've never experimented with it, maybe this is the time to experiment while you're watching the games. And maybe that gets you to start playing that in the playoffs, where I've played it in the playoffs and it's a pretty fun time.
All right, very good.
I think that's just fundamentally wrong. It's not what you said, but what I was saying earlier. It's a 9-point line move, and Rodgers is probably going to play a half. That's just wrong. I'm telling you, man. By the end of the week, it wouldn't shock me if this line is 6.
No one. I'm telling you, I'm shocked that Mangone is with us too. People have been laughing at me when I say he's going to play 2 or 3 quarters.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's, let the books think that he's going to sit too. But that's my show bet. Then I don't give many show bets.
He also keep in mind, he's not going to be dropping back and just trying to do crazy stuff. They're definitely going to establish the run. They're playing the Lions. He's just going to hand the ball off a lot.
Said last night, it's probably going on the sheet in the Discord.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I like that call. And I think what you're going to see Aaron Jones mixed in a little bit. Then you'll see a little bit heavier dosage of A.J. Dillon. And then you'll see them go to, who's the guy? Is it Scott or something? I forget. They're going to mix that guy in to close out. It's just, they're all going to get a decent amount of work. It's going to be split up,
And if you have to buy off, you buy off if for some reason Rodgers doesn't play. That's all.
Yep. Seems simple. DFS wise, yeah, you don't want to really play too many guys here, though. I don't mind the St. Brown thing, Holden. It's worth calling out that you're not just looking on week 17 or 18 for guys that are like playing for something. You're also looking for some of these like trash teams that like still might go out there and try. And like the Lions, they still might go out there and try a little bit for sure. And it's in a dome.
Yeah, as far as teams giving up, I've just seen too many teams that have nothing to play for, that are playing for lame duck coaches, and they go out and they win football games. There's not that. I think that's a misnomer that teams just come out there and they give up. Maybe if they're getting the shit beaten out of them second half, they'll throw in the towel, but it doesn't happen as much as people think it does.
Yeah, they don't go out there and like they just like try to lose. They're going to go out there and try, and like obviously as the game gets tougher, if they're getting crushed, it's easier to fold over. But when they're in that game, dude, like when you've been kicked over and over and you got a chance to win a game, you're going to try and win that game. It's simple.
Packers -2.5, -115. Packers -0.5, -136. Keg.
Where is that?
Huh?
Where is that half line?
You can find it points bet.
Okay.
So you can go look at that. It's -136, but it's first half bet. Okay, let's get to our next game. Patriots Dolphins. Patriots -6.5 on the road. Total here 40 to 39.5. This to me, I started digging into it, Keg, and then I said, why bother? If Keg has something, fine, but I'm not messing with these two teams. I'm not doing it. I don't understand. You tell me, what did you find in this game? Because I don't want to mess with it. Division rivals, last game of the season.
Yeah, it's a tough one to call, man. Patriots, they surprised me this year. I think it's one of Belichick's best coaching years ever. Nobody. I mean, it was the last rookie taken in the first round, wasn't he, Mac Jones? I mean, they have a chance to win the AFC East this week if they win and Buffalo loses. So I expected the Patriots to nothing. That's the thing. Nothing surprised me over the last 2 weeks about what happened with the Patriots. I expected them to lose against the Bills 2 weeks back. We were all on them in the Discord because it's tough to beat the Bills twice in the year. And then I expected the Patriots to run through the Jags and name their score last week. And I think everybody expected that. And that's what they did. So this week, I do think they play a tougher team in Miami, though, who, I think the Pats lost by 1 point in week one, the first time these two played. You would think they want this one back. They definitely want a shot at the AFC East title. The defense has been rock solid all year. And I think that the defense could really give the Dolphins issues here. Now, the Dolphins got torched by a team that nobody gave any credit to at all, but it's going to be the number one seed in the AFC when it's all said and done. But I digress. Now, the Dolphins looked pathetic against the Titans last week. And to be honest, I didn't think they looked good in multiple games that they won during that winning streak. But they always came out the other side with the win, the Dolphins. So the offense isn't really that hard to beat. All you have to do is take Jalen Waddle out of the game. It's not that hard. If you do that, the offense has a very hard time moving the football consistently down the field. On their best day, can they beat the Patriots? Yes, I think they can. But I don't think they win this game. So I lean towards the Patriots here under a touchdown. But I already gave subscribers Dolphins under 9 wins plus 125. So we're at 8 right now. We're either going to win the bet or push the bet. So I'm already on that. So as far as the total, 40 seems low, but I'm confident that Belichick is going to take the best weapon out of the game for Miami. That's Jalen Waddle. And then I don't see them scoring consistently in this game. So I'm still going to lean under the 40 here. And I'm going to lean to the Patriots under a touchdown, but we already have them subscribers because we need Miami to lose to cash that ticket.
Okay. Got it. So Mangone, a running joke with me has been me rostering Kendrick Bourne 2 weeks ago, and then I had him in the lineup last week. But the guy that I also have rostered, and I've rostered him heavily the last 2 weeks, is Damian Harris. To be honest with you, that's the only guy I'm interested in from this game. Can you think of anybody else? Because I'm with Keg. I think they try to take Waddle out. Whether it works or not, it seems to work out more often than it doesn't with Belichick. What do you got with the Dolphins and the Patriots?
Yeah, so you might have interest in Damian Harris. I might go the other way. I might go Mr. Ramondre Stevenson, secondary guy. I know Damian was a little banged up last week, and so Damian got 9 rush attempts for 35 yards, and then Stevenson, his workload was
it was a blowout, Mangone. I mean, Harris scored 2 touchdowns early, and then they just sat him.
Yeah, I mean, but that could happen again here, right? I mean, that would not shock me at all.
A blowout?
I think it could. I mean, the Dolphins, they're not that great, man. Like, I don't know. I'm not. They're officially out of the playoff race too, right?
No.
And it's still. Oh,
yeah.
How? What did they have to? Let me see.
Hold on. That loss last week hurt them. Let me go. Let me go check.
Like,
I can tell you, I got it up right now. I'll tell you.
So the thing I am wondering, will they? Because it's a 4:25 game. Is there a chance the Dolphins are eliminated by 4:00? Because that could change things too.
Well, you got the Steelers and the Chargers, which is really going to shake things up.
Yeah, Schefter has these tweets, so that's the thing. I looked at them.
Miami's done.
They are done, eliminated. Yeah. They got the E-neck. You know what it is? Baltimore is 11th currently. Miami's 10th, but Baltimore is not eliminated. So yes, Miami's done ski.
Yeah. So I mean, they could easily fold over. Of course, we said this. It's a team that if the game is close, they'll probably go out there and grind. But I just would not be surprised if, it's after the first half, the score is 17-3, and you just never know. Coach might want to look at some other guys, some younger options they have, and, give other guys some work. It's like the season's over. You just never know what can happen. But I just think from the perspective, and I did this last week, Damian Harris is he the main running back in the Patriots? Yes, but he was banged up last week. And what did they do? They went to Stevenson more because the game blew out. And that could happen here in this spot. It's getting late in the year, and Stevenson gets work no matter what. If you look at the carries, 19, 10, 24, 9, 12, 20, 10, you're still going to get carries from him. Now, if you look at the price tag, he is on FanDuel, he's 6.5K. DK, he's 5.9. So price went up. Last week was a little bit better. He was 5.7K. But if the week is ugly and we don't have a lot of great running backs, which the problem is we probably will, you're going to get him at no ownership. The dude's going to be under 1%. So from there, you just build out chalk teams if you like. And I had a team that was like that. The problem was the Cardinals, right? The Cardinals in the Cowboys game, it was like a game stack and it just didn't get the job done. But Stevenson definitely treated me well last week. I think maybe it's because he had a great game last week and that's why I'm considering it. But it does make some sense to just go to your backup and let him kind of ride it out and make sure that Damian Harris is safe for this playoff run because they want to definitely ride him out. I mean, he's their bell cow. He is their guy. And it just wouldn't surprise me if you saw Stevenson get maybe 15 carries while Harris gets 10.
Okay. We'll move right on to our next game unless you guys got anything else to talk about there. Niners Rams. Boy, Matthew Stafford's been a little sloppy. What is it? 7 picks in his last 3 games. Rams playing decent football, though. Niners need to win this game here. Kegger, division game. These two teams beat the hell out of each other. That's just factual. They play good games. 4.5 points is what the Rams are laying at home. 44.5 is the total in this game. Is there any reason to get invested in the Niners at the Rams?
Yeah, the Niners cost me an L last week, man. I was on the Texans, but they missed that 30-yard to cover. Listen, the 49ers find themselves in a position where they control their own destiny. Now, I basically have the Niners on Sunday because I gave out the Saints don't make the playoffs before the season started. The Niners need to win this game, and then the Saints are out. Or if the Niners lose, the Saints have to lose. And then the Niners make it. So, if the Niners win, they make the playoffs, that means I'm going to cash that ticket. Now, I don't feel great about it, though, because if Jimmy G plays, he's still playing with an injured thumb. And if Trey Lance plays, it's only his 3rd start ever. Who are you better off with under that exact scenario? I have no idea. As far as the Rams, they continue to look bad, but they continue to win football games. It's actually unbelievable how bad Matt Stafford has looked at certain points over these last 4 games, but they continue to find a way to win every fucking week. They're limping in going into these playoffs, man. I'm telling you that because something seems broken in the offense right now, and I think it's going to cost them their season in a week or two. So I'm going to lean the 49ers plus the points here. But obviously won't be betting it because we already have it. As far as the total, 44 seems a little low to me, but I understand why it's this low with all the uncertainty at quarterback for both these teams lately. But I'll still lean over the 44 here. That's all I got.
Over 44. Mangone, I don't know how you keep Elijah Mitchell out of your lineups. I don't care what the matchup is in a tournament. This guy gets all the work when he's in there. He's got 100 yards in half of his games, 10 games, 500-yard games. It's amazing what he does. So maybe you could start there. Trey Lance no longer going to be about min salary. You know, they priced him up. And then on the Rams side, how do you fade Cooper Kupp this week? I know it was a little disappointing last week. You just only went over 100 yards, didn't score multiple touchdowns. But boy, I mean, I cannot imagine they're not going to feed him the ball, A, because they normally do, and B, because he's got some incentives.
Yeah, so the incentive is like, what, 12 receptions at 136 yards? It is like a tall ask, and they are still like fighting to win the game. They're not just going to like force feed him for no reason. They do want to win. They're not going to be in like a game that's 17-17 and be like, yeah, let's force feed Cooper Kupp here. They might do it to win, but they're not going to do it for his incentives. They're not going to try and get him a quick reception for that. But yeah, I think that you make good calls on Elijah Mitchell. I liked him last week. I thought he was really good leverage off of Trey Lance. I think you can go back to the well with Elijah Mitchell at his price tag is $6K. FanDuel is $8K, which feels uncomfortable, but you might have the salary to make it work. And it's a touchdown site. And if they're going to be putting up touchdowns, Elijah Mitchell will probably be a part of it. I struggle with the Cooper Kupp thing. So maybe it's because the fade worked last week for me. And that's why I'm like more comfortable doing it. It makes it a little bit easier. But I think that Cooper Kupp is pricey. And what happens is when I kind of build out my stacks, if I have a cheap stack and I'm able to get Cooper Kupp in there as like a one-off, I'll do it. I don't really want to do the whole, like, let me play Matthew Stafford with Cooper Kupp and then another option. Like, let's say you put in an Odell Beckham. Let's say you put in one of Elijah Mitchell, Deebo Samuel, or George Kittle ran back. My problem with that is, do you know how much money that costs, man? Like, that is expensive to have that entire full-on stack. And then you're going to fill out your lineup with just guys that I don't want. Like, you're going to have to mix in some really cheap guys. And yeah, it could be a week where some really good cheap value emerges. And then maybe that makes that route more in play. But if that happens, it makes that route more in play for everybody too. Like, everyone's going to want to consider that. If there's cheap value that people want to go to, you're going to be on the similar path. So it's something that I'm considering the Cooper Kupp fade for Jonathan Taylor instead, because Jonathan Taylor against the Jaguars, I mean, it's just, yeah, like, pick one. Like, you think it's Taylor versus the Jaguars, or is it Cooper Kupp against the Niners in this game? Well, the Niners have a lot of ways that they can get the job done. Of course, on DraftKings, one thing you can do is you can be like, okay, on DraftKings, I'm going to go Cooper Kupp. And the reason why I'm going to go Cooper Kupp is PPR, the bonus, all that stuff. FanDuel, maybe you go Jonathan Taylor because touchdown equity is more important. There's no bonus for that 100 yards, which of course I think both guys can get. But then there's the big thing is the PPR, especially with the 12 receptions. If he gets 13 receptions, like, I mean, you're just dust without Cooper Kupp. So that's a great way to play it. Jonathan Taylor on FanDuel, Cooper Kupp on DK. You don't feel as you don't feel like you're in trouble, and it helps each guy on each different site. So that's something you can consider. My lean right now, though, is Jonathan Taylor over Cooper Kupp. We'll see if it works out. We'll see if I stick with it, but that's just because I think Cooper Kupp, if I play him, one, I don't want to play that stack like I mentioned, and two, I feel like a lot of people are going to play him, and then that's just going to mess up the way that I'm doing my stacking as well, because he takes up a receiver spot. Typically when you stack, it doesn't take up a running back spot normally. Like, sometimes you can use a running back there, but a lot of those stacks, they're just like a quarterback, a receiver, and a receiver. And I just feel like it can mess up your construction a bit. So that's my current route. I think Jonathan Taylor over Cooper Kupp. And, if it beats me, it beats me.
I mean, this guy is good, Keg. He's coming up with like strategery, in these games where we're trying to figure out what the hell to do. By the way, Cam Akers is going to get a little run, but good luck if you want to take a risk with that guy.
You can't take a risk on him. They're going to just mix him in. But Holden, your best word that you use is strategery. That's my favorite word.
I mean, listen, it's a staple of George W. Bush back in the day. We got some good strategery, and it's based on historical inaccuracies. I guess it was accurate though that he said that. Bears Vikings, Keg. Listen, we're digging deep here, buddy. I know we are. Coming back. So
I love this game. Like, I think.
All right, good. You know what? Hold on, Keg. I want to hear from Mangone then. Bears +4. 44 is the total. Indoors in Minnesota, and Kirk Cousins is coming back. We will not see Kellen Mond, by the way. That's not happening, Mangone.
Yeah, that was very hurtful. I was not happy about that.
He's such a dick too. Zimmer's just like, I've seen enough of him. I see him every day. No, he's not playing.
I mean, that's just brutal. Like, oh man. But yeah, so I think this game is really interesting from a DFS perspective. Yes, it's a game that feels kind of meaningless, but you do have two coaches coaching for their jobs in a way, right? So I think they're going to go out there. They're not going to, obviously Mike Zimmer showed his hand. He's not like playing a bunch of bums because he's not bringing Kellen Mond. Kirk Cousins should be back. Kirk Cousins' price is not bad at that 6.1K. Also, the thing I do like about Justin Jefferson is you just know all the volume's going to go to him. It's not like Adam Thielen's going to be there. So it's a pretty predictable spot. And on the opposite side, another predictable thing is David Montgomery at 6.8K. I think he's someone that is going to get a lot of run here. I do like him when Justin Fields is not in there. I know there's some confusion on who the guy's going to be this week. I'm hoping it's not Justin Fields, but if it is Justin Fields, I'm still okay with David Montgomery. I think if you do have Justin Fields in there, you can make a case that I think Darnell Mooney, no matter who the guy is perfectly fine. Cole Kmet at 3.4K. That's another great way you can go. You can say, okay, let me play a small stack of Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson. And yeah, Jefferson is kind of expensive, but you run it back with a Cole Kmet. And that's kind of cheap. And you can make the argument that Kirk Cousins should be 6.7K. And this game is also in a dome. And it is kind of one of the higher totals on the slate. So I think there's a lot to like in this game. I think Montgomery, Mooney, Kmet, all options that are in play for me. And then the Kirk Cousins to Justin Jefferson is a good option. And if you have the money, you could throw in the Dalvin Cook and do that as like your 3-man stack. You could even do a Tyler Conklin at 4-2. But it's not something I'm like jamming into my lineups, but if you are making a Viking stack or playing any Vikings, I feel pretty good. You're either playing one of Cook or Jefferson as a run back. And if you are doing Kirk Cousins, you're automatically putting Jefferson in that stack and then mixing in one of the three, Montgomery, Mooney, or Kmet.
Keg, what was it about this game that you put it on the list? What's going on here?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Maybe.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Listen, the Bears look solid against the Giants on Sunday. Okay, we were able to cash a live team total on the live show, but they still have so much room for improvement. It's frightening. I mean, 3.8 yards per play is not going to be enough to get it done. Now, I was under the assumption I wasn't sure if Cousins was going to play, but you're saying he is, right? Now
he's playing, yes.
Okay, now so I like Minnesota. You probably get minus a field goal, minus $1.20 somewhere, and that's what this game came down to. Because the interesting factor is, I probably would have been on the other side if Sean Mannion was going this week and Kirk wasn't coming back. But since Cousins is back, I think they're a better football team than the Bears, period. And I don't mind laying a field goal minus $1.20 in this game.
Okay, terrific. One more game to get to, and then we'll be done with the regular season with this show. We'll come back with our, what do we got, 4 games the first weekend of the, right? We got 4 games? No, this year I think we got 6, right? We got 6 games for the playoffs. I just realized that. That's kind of exciting.
It'll be 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and we're hopeful. They did it last year. Yeah. They gave us DraftKings gave us a main slate that had good contests, not for just like one good contest. They had a good one for like if you were playing the lower stakes. They had a good one for the mid stakes, the high stakes as well. They didn't have like just like loaded up contests. They also had contests at other spots too, but they made sure that if whatever price tier you kind of like to play at, for the most part, they made sure that you could get exposure to that 6-game slate where you're able to make some swaps like the next night over, right? You can just like overnight look at your head-to-heads if you play head-to-head, make the swaps that you need to, and play a little bit of game theory. And it's a lot of fun. So I'm hoping and praying that DraftKings does that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to send them a tweet because they don't listen anyways, but
they'll give us the 6-gamer, right?
What?
They'll give us the 6-gamer, not just 2 threes.
I mean, they do like to do 2 threes for the rake, Holden, but they did it last year. We got to give them credit. We don't give them credit much, but we got to give them credit. They did it last year. Hopefully they come back again with that this year.
I don't rip them. I rip FanDuel, but that's who I rip. Just all right. Don't get me started down that path. Okay. So Seahawks Cardinals is our last game. Seahawks plus 6.5 on the road at the Cards. 47.5 This is total here. I mean, Keg, was this another one where you just had to pick a game, or is there actually an angle here? The Cardinals going to go out and lay some wood.
I tried to pick games where motivation mattered, but then I ran out, I think. So listen. The Seahawks didn't look bad last week against the Lions. They hung 51. But who cares, man? It's against the Lions. Who doesn't smash the Lions? I had the worst take all year on this show. So I failed to see the motivation that the Seahawks have in this game. It seems like every piece of news that comes out of Seattle is the players can't wait to get the hell out of there this year. So I can't back the Seahawks in week 18. The Cardinals actually do have something to play for. They could win the NFC West on Sunday if the Rams lose with a win. So, the Cardinals win this game, which could give them a home game in the first round of the playoffs. That should be motivation enough to keep the momentum going after the big win last week against Dallas. They look good against Dallas. They had been struggling in the 3 games prior, but I thought they looked better. So I'll lean Arizona minus the points. As far as the total, I'm going to lean over because defense takes a ton of effort, and I don't see a ton of effort this week coming out of that Seattle camp. So I don't know what else you handicap this game on other than motivation. So that's all I've got. Give me the cards in this one.
And going, you buying into DK Metcalf's 3-touchdown performance. Rashad Penny's been going bananas. On the other side, obviously Kyler Murray. What are you making of this game in a DFS spot?
Yeah, I will say Rashad Penny's definitely been licking his chops for this opportunity. So, he's a guy – I like to ride these guys out in these situations, and I think he's worth riding out here at 6.5K. Here's a question. I don't know. It's probably too much noise. It's probably just, narrative driven, but it's fun to talk about. Is this Russell Wilson's last game in a Seattle Seahawks uniform?
Yeah, I think it's Carroll's last game as the head coach there.
True, but is it Wilson's? I
personally see Wilson winning this battle. That's just me, though.
What if they're both gone? I mean, they could be both, right? Couldn't it be both?
That would be asinine to get rid of a quarterback the caliber of Russell Wilson. That's so dumb.
Can I hijack this conversation for a minute? Did anybody watch the show on Sunday? What went down?
Which show?
The live show.
I watched a couple minutes of it. I did, but what happened?
So one of the guys on the show, he's a subscriber. He's a sharp kid. Diego.
Yeah.
He had a parlay that he bet for $100 to pay $12,000.
Oh,
it was 4 legs, 4 anytime touchdowns, right? He hit the first 3. They offered him a payout of $4,000. He's like, what do I do? So everybody said, cash out, take the 4K, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, I kind of changed my mind. I was like, you know what? Don't take it. It's only $100 bet. Let it ride. And then he was like, man, I'm not sweating out an entire game where I need Rashad Penny to score a touchdown in this game for $12K. I'm just getting out. He got out. And it hit. He cost himself $8K. But
he won 4.
Yeah, I still can't blame him. He 40x'd that $100 bet. So I think you're a winner regardless. But sick though, that he would have hit that $12,000 parlay on the show had he let it roll. But
I'll say this: I would have probably let that roll. But I understand, I understand why he took it. It always depends on the person, and it depends on the risk tolerance. And you have to think about, let's say the bet doesn't win. You have to think about the situation and say, how will I feel if it doesn't win? And how will I feel if it does win? From all scenarios, you have to think about that and understand where you're at with it. And hey, I mean, you got to also sometimes in life not be like, oh man, I lost 12K or whatever, or the 8K. just be happy you won the 4K for sure. I think that's like the big thing. He made, some pretty good bets, but I probably would have let it ride out just because I think like I like Penny and I like the script and everything, but I also wasn't in the scenario and like sweating that game very closely. So, but that's awesome for him for sure. But yeah, I think this is a game. Do you think Russell Wilson? So, Keg, is it his last game with the Seahawks? Yes or no? What do you think?
Well, here's what I think. I think that if he wants to stay, but he wants Carroll to be gone, then I think Pete Carroll is a ghost because there's no way they want to lose Russ. But if that doesn't matter to him and he just wants to get out, regardless if Carroll is there or not, then I think he's going to leave.
Okay. Well, we were doing a game. I mean, is there anything you want to do with the Seattle game or just move on?
No, real quick, I don't think this game's bad. I just think Wilson, like that Wilson stack is still in play. Like, because like when Wilson does hit, right? Like it's either when a Metcalf or Lockett. So it is nice. Like when it's Kyler Murray hits, I don't even know who it's going to be. That's one of the problems. But one thing to mention with Kyler, like let's say James Conner happens to miss. I assume he plays, but if he happens to miss, Chase Edmonds and him having that whole backfield is definitely in play. This game is in a dome. That's pretty good. The total has trended upward. It's at 48 now. AJ Green at 5.7K. He has an incentive where if he gets like, I think it's like 60 or 70 receiving yards, he gets like a nice little bonus. So I'm sure he's going to be pushing for that and wanting to get that. And AJ Green looked great last week. I mean, he pulled off that nice double move on Diggs. Everyone always talks about how these receivers, the older they get, the dustier they get throughout the year. Well, it feels like AJ Green is actually trending the other way where he needs to be more of an alpha in this offense without Hopkins. So I think AJ Green is definitely a guy to look at and keen on the playoffs too. And I'm not going to sleep on this Wesley kid. Wesley's looked really good. And I considered get some exposure last week and I didn't. Yes, he had 4 receptions for 30 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he's clearly getting some valuable looks. So I don't think Wesley is the craziest idea for really, really cheap.
Love him.
On a rough slate. So I think this game is definitely a decent one. I'm curious to see what the ownership's going to be because it's a 48 total. It's the highest total on the slate. If you tell me this game's going to be popular, I'm probably more out on it. But if people are not really going to play this game, then I have some more interest. So I'm curious to see how it shakes out because last week, that Chiefs game, I mean, it wasn't really super popular. I mean, some parts of it was, but I found a way to make it work. And I think there are ways to make this Cardinals and Seattle Seahawks game work. The only issue I have is, again, the Cardinals. Sometimes it's tough to kind of figure out which guy it's going to be. Like even Zach Ertz is in play at 5.6K and could be a really good option. So it's definitely a good game to consider as a stack on this slate.
All right, guys, let's get out of here. Kegger, wonderful stuff. One more time real quick. How do people check out the new live show? It's the same old live show, but a new way to consume it.
Well, it's going to be a package now. People can go to the pricing on runpuresports.com, and the option will be all the way over to the right. We'll kick it off on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Yep. I think it's totally worth it too. Absolutely. It's a cash cow. It's a great show. It does take time. It does take an investment, but I think, an investment in time to win in gambling is in sports betting is basically a necessity anyways. Anything you want to say, Mangone? Are we ready to get out of here?
Yeah, I don't got too much else to say. I guess check out everything that we got over here at Run Pure Sports. And we're going to be updating stuff. It's tough to give you full on NFL analysis and break it all down because we just don't know exactly what's going to happen. But stay up the news on everything. Sign up at Run Pure Sports. We have tons of free shows. There would be Sunday shows on this channel. So we got it all over here for you. Just keep grinding it out. And this is a week. Don't be just all week long saying, this week is lame. There's nothing to this week. Put the research in. You could easily just get lazy on Saturday and Friday once we get all that news and say, I'll figure it out Sunday. And then Sunday, you just end up lighting money on fire and just not putting in the proper research. So don't get lazy. Make sure to grind it out. And, also, if you don't like the week, don't push as much money as your bankroll. We got playoffs coming up. We got tons of stuff. So you don't have to play, an absurd amount of volume if you don't put in the proper research.
All right, guys. Wonderful stuff for Kegger. For Mangone, I'm Holden, and Simon, get us out of here.